Hey grade 12s. So today we're going to look at a sigma series notation so we can just help break down what we're actually looking at, what are our inputs or what our inputs are, what our output is, and what sequence we are actually using to interpret this. Okay, so sigma is a sum of all the numbers in a sequence, and that is called the series specifically. So sigma is just the actual format that we are going to use and interpret in order to do the question. So the question was just saying solve for S of n in this case. Okay, so our S of n formula will be on our formula sheet, and I just wrote that down here. Cool. So what we're actually looking at the bottom of our sigma is the p. So the p value, or whatever letter they put here, that is the first input number. There'll usually be a value here and the little p inside our sequence. Cool. 8 over here is our last number in the sequence. Okay, so if we were to put it on a sort of number table, we would have our first value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're trying to add up the outputs of all of these guys based on this sequence that they've given us. Okay, so we have two important things that we have just covered. At this stage, we're trying to determine what sequence is this. Sometimes it'll be arithmetic, sometimes it'll be geometric, and if there was an infinity at the top, that would be an infinite series. What we need to do based on this is we need to get term 1, term 2, and term 3. So we need to sub our p's value, the value that was given, into our sequence to get these values. So we're going to go 2, 5, 6, then in our calculators, with a bracket 4, 1, minus 0. 0 is our first input in this case. Okay, so we've done this on our calculator. The term 1 gives us 1024, so 1024, and this is our A value. Okay, so we have that. We're then going to do term 2 and term 3. We don't even have to do term 3 necessarily, because what we do need is term 1 and term 2 specifically. Because we have an A, that's great. We can put this in here to solve for, that's a question mark apparently. Okay, cool. For this Sn. And then we have a term 1, we have a term 2. By term 2, we put in 1. So p equals 1. We go 2, 5, 6 in our calculator, bracket 4 to the power of 1 minus 1, close brackets, and we get this value of 2, 5, 6. Okay, so it's just telling us what number to put into p so we can then get the output for our term 1 over here and our term 2 over here. Okay, it's told us where to start. So at this stage, because it is geometric, it has a ratio. If it was arithmetic, we would get a difference. Cool. And that would also be a different formula. That would require a d in the formula. So at this stage, we're getting a ratio, which means we have to put term 3 over term 2 or term 2 over term 1, which we did solve for. We also have term 3 here if we did calculate it. So then we put term 2 over term 1, and we get a ratio of 1 over 4. Okay, so that's a good thing. These little stars here are telling us what is important, because this is what we need to put into our Sn. Okay, so we have an R, we have a ratio, and then we have an A. It is our first value. So that's two of the things, which means the last thing that we need to solve for is n, because if we want this Sn, yes, this is what this question is asking us. So to calculate n, we're going to take the top number in our sigma notation minus the bottom number, whatever that first input number is, plus 1. Okay, so we're going to go 8 minus 0 plus 1. And that gives us 9. And that's because if we're going to add up all these terms and we count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are actually 9 terms in this series. Okay, so we want to add up all 9 terms. So now that we have an A, we have an R, and we have an N, we're going to then substitute our A, our R, and our N, these little ticks, into this equation to then solve for Sn. So we sub it in, we solve for it, and we move on. Cool. So let me know if that makes sense. I'm going to leave the PDF of this in the description below, and you can download that. Also, let me know if I must clarify anything for this question specifically, or if there are any other questions for sequences and series that you want clarified, and I will help get 2 videos on that before your exams coming up. And if this helped, let me know in the comments, and then I will see you in the next video.